DJ Cool G, and welcome to G's Playground, Social House that is being aired on November 28th. Welcome, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
Good. Please introduce yourselves to the listeners.
My name is Carl Dante. I am a writer, director, producer, editor, filmmaker in all of the TV show Social House. And I'm very excited to be here today with my brother and partner.
Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Savoca. I am actor and writer.
Let us know more about the show.
Yeah, so I'll probably start all the way back from like the genesis of the idea of the show. It was probably over a decade ago. I was with a couple of my buddies, and it was around the time of like the rise of all the online dating platforms like Tinder and you name it, right? And I always thought it was funny that, many of my friends were going through just the hustle of just dating in general. And at the time I was engaged to my wife now, and it was one of those things where like the environment is just constantly evolving and you have to keep up or you're clearly going to fall behind. And I thought about how funny it would be to have a show about just the struggles of like online dating, right? And it's not even just about like online dating. Like we were clearly a decade ago, and even today it's probably more pronounced, but living in a world where like all of the interactions that you've experienced is online. And so like tech was becoming more and more a part of our lives. And I just thought about like, man, there's really nothing out there today that kind of is relatable to this. I then got married and had 2 kids, and the idea kind of fell to the wayside. And then my brother came in a couple of years ago, and he goes, hey, whatever happened with that idea? We should really do it.
Yeah, I kept that in I guess my back pocket when Carl told me the idea of Social House, and I have a book of ideas. I looked back at it and I said, I want to make a movie or a show so bad. Like, I just want to have that to present to people and show people, hey, we did it. And so, exactly right. I said, Carl, whatever happened with this idea? Let's do it. What's holding us back? And now that he had 2 kids, they can assist us holding the mics and the cameras.
They actually acted it as well.
Oh, you have your own in-house crew, huh?
Yeah, that's the only way to find the crew. Just have kids.
But
it's like, hey, do your chores. By the way, when you finish, you're gonna come hold this microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. But for us, it was uncharted territory. This genre of comedy, which is, if you ask anyone in the film industry, comedy is one of the hardest genres to produce, and it's because everyone has such a different style of comedy. Something you think that's funny might not be funny to other people, right? And historically speaking, like dating back to like 2015 when we really started getting into film, my favorite genre is horror. I don't know if you're a fan of like horror, but it is the most profitable genre in the Hollywood industry because they're typically low budget. You don't need very, expensive cast members. And naturally, most people like to be scared. They like that adrenaline rush, and so they flock to go see these movies, and some of them are obviously not well done, but it's just one of those things that is just a very lucrative kind of genre. But comedy was one where I said, I think we have a pretty good sense of humor, but let's test it. So we had to do a lot of work around that.
Oh, okay. And how did you come about calling this one Social House?
We knew when we first started writing that it was going to be about 3 unique individuals that were going to share one general story arc. And that arc was, for whatever reason, they are in an industry or a market now that is dominated by technology. And all 3 of them are sharing one common goal, which is looking for love. And the last thing they tell you when you're writing anything is you work on the title last, because it'll just come to you. And as we were writing the pilot, and we wanted one of our characters, Mo, who is this kind of grandiose like figure who he came into all this wealth over like the dumbest idea. And I think about like so many of my friends that are trying to like get rich quick and come up with these ideas, and some of them are brilliant ideas, but they just don't take off. I thought it'd be funny to spoof this guy who is, he tries really hard, but like in the least expecting manner, he comes into all this wealth, and then he goes, okay, I'm gonna just buy a really nice house, and I'm just gonna invite all my friends to live with me. I'm gonna take care of them. And so as we were writing the pilot, we knew that most of the settings at first, because the pilot is typically one where you really want to focus on character development, it takes place in this house. So we kept referring to the house as another character because it is unique. And as you watch the 3 episodes as it plays out, the house itself actually becomes a pretty important figure of the show. But then when you layer on the fact that most of the scenes involve some aspects of social media, we looked at each other and we said, wow, like this is becoming a very social house, not just like figuratively, but metaphorically as well. And then we looked at each other and we said, okay, social house, this has got to be it.
That's it. That was the name.
Oh, wow, that's a great idea. I never thought of projects that way. I'm usually so, stuck on, trying to come up with a name first of, like for instance, my show, G's Playground. I came up with that because I'm actually sitting in what I call a playground. I actually, when I moved up north, I actually created an old school arcade room. So I have all the toys, all the consoles, everything around me in the room. And then I was sitting here the other day and I was like, this is my playground. And that's how I came up with G's Playground.
That's awesome.
But, and then when I got the okay to start doing the radio show here on Freight Runners Radio, I said, you know what? I'm going to have to do the recording in the playground. So, because that's the only place where I can get quiet from being around, my dog who's with me all the time. Mm-hmm. He wants to be all up in the video. But I know that one of the things that I deal with when it comes to the DJ world is, there's a lot of difficulties I have to deal with. There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of competition. And I know in the entertainment world, when it comes to film and acting, it's probably 10 times harder, dealing with the difficulties and obstacles. What are some of the difficulties that you had to deal with putting together this series and the obstacles you had to face?
The difficulty was finding our female cast. That was a very big challenge. And what I ended up doing was using social media, writing a show about social media, and now I'm using social media.
Pretty ironic, huh?
To try and find women. Don't tell my girlfriend. And and so I'm communicating with these females and future actresses, and they were great, and each and every one of them was fantastic, and just pitching them the idea. I was a nobody. Going up to them, one of the female members I met at a bar, and I had the script in my hand, and I went up to a girl, and she must have thought, oh my God, this guy is going the extra mile on hitting on me. He's saying he has a show. and she was great. I just said, hey, listen, if you like the idea, here's my phone number, and give me a call. We can have a FaceTime set up. You get to know me, I get to know you, and then I pitch you this idea. And they loved it, and we were really, really happy to have them on board because they brought their 110%.
I'll also just share one other thing, right? Because whenever you're involved in a project, you're always going to have to do some level of like problem solving. And I think, and I tell my kids this all the time, right? Like there's always going to be a solution to every problem. It just might not be the solution you want. And I think when we were casting it, I think Dan did a fantastic job of getting our cast. And one of the things we knew was we had individuals in our lives that we wanted for the show, but they've never acted before. But we knew that once we put them on screen, they were just going to steal the scene just because of just the energy that they brought. And so what we decided to do was, as we were writing episodes 1 through 3, is we wrote the characters based off of those individuals. So when the day came for them to do like a table read or to act on set, we were just telling them, hey, be yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? It's one of those things where, including myself, everybody's looking for their break and their door to open. And you guys, your doors has opened and you're doing it big now. I heard you say that there's 3 episodes. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Will there be more episodes, and will parts be added to the series? Because I myself would love to be in it. We can do a club scene where I'm the DJ. I'm not a good actor, but I'm a hell of a DJ.
Yeah. So look, the way I would view it as is the 3 episodes is a proof of concept, right? So we want to see if, one, people find the show interesting, people find the characters relatable, and the analytics are there to support further potential funding from big production companies, right? And this is very standard in this type of industry here. I will tell you that the 3 episodes, we wrote it in a way where it sufficiently wraps up each character's arc. However, if we proceed with more episodes, there are continuous stories that we have built out to just keep this show going. I think it's really important to give people closure. I would never want a Sopranos type ending where you're like, well, what just happened here? And I've been emotionally invested in this character for so long and I don't know what happened. You will get closure with Social House, but I do think it'll leave people wanting more. And we've left story arcs open in a way where we can continue to tell stories in so many different ways, and we have that pipeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And adding to that, when I wrote the episodes for my brother as just a rough draft, I actually pitched a pilot episode and we scrapped it. We scrapped it, meaning we didn't just throw it out, but we kept it in our drawer because we weren't married to the idea. And at first, writing it out, I was a little married to it, and I was pitching it to my brother and said, I really like this as a first episode. And he goes, no, we need to really break down these characters more. It's the first episode. People should know exactly, what each character is trying to do with social media and finding their one true love. So we went through several stages. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it wasn't like a one and done type, write this, film it, get it out there. It was over 2 years of prepping this, writing it out, breaking it down, sitting down in a room, my brother and I with a cup of coffee, just brainstorming, saying, this idea is genius, this idea isn't, don't write that, So it was a lot of back and forth communication between the two of us in trying to perfect this idea.
Yeah, and I'll just share that, character development is number 1. If you're writing a script, you spend most of your time nailing down who the characters are and making that linkage to the audience in terms of do they find them interesting and relatable? Relatable, I'm going to emphasize, because if you find them relatable, you tend to be emotionally invested into seeing them get through the obstacles and hurdles that they have throughout the season. And I think that is so important. I think if you take a look at our social media right now, we're trying to take a really dedicated stance towards introducing each character. We do character week. So we just actually wrapped up Rocco Rock's character. And then the week before that, we had Vinny's character. And so going into the show, you're already getting a flavor for who these individuals are. And I can't wait to get the reception from once this goes live and people go, I really found that character Vinny relatable. Man, some of the scenes that you guys filmed, really hit home because I'm going through that right now. And to me, that's going to be the ultimate payoff. That's going to be the ultimate reward. And it was so important for us to land that and get that right.
Yeah, it's especially just dialogue. A lot of it, I'm hoping that people watch it and say, oh my God, I say that. And I'm not trying to give certain things away, but when I'm trying to write, I don't force it. So I would be sitting down having dinner with my parents one night, and it would just be something my father says, and I would just, my head would jolt up, and I would go find pen and paper immediately because I say, you know what, that's funny, and people are gonna laugh, and I'm sure there are other people out there that say exactly what you just said, Dad, and he'll be like, what did I do? So it's funny because I'm sure I'm not the only one that goes through that. I'm sure there are people that sit down, whether it's with their parents or significant others, where you do something comical, not realizing it. And it could just add so much joy and laughter to others, you know? So we're all comedians in our own way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I know in this household here, my wife always says she ended up being the butt of all the jokes here. But you know what? Life is about creating funny, creating memories, having laughter, because that keeps us young. It keeps us healthy.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll just share one thing, because I think this character deserves the spotlight. There's one character he wrote. His name is Vinny. He's in his late 50s. He's a mechanic. He doesn't know what technology is. And he just so happens to unfortunately be going through a divorce, right? And the main character, Mo, who owns the home and came into all this wealth, he brings him into the home as if like, hey, I'm gonna try to help this guy. And what's really funny is like taking someone like that and putting him into this new world where he does want to meet someone else, right? He doesn't want to end up alone in his life. And so now he's thrown into this really different world with a very younger demographic. And he's like, man, I don't know where to begin. But it's interesting because he also has a very unique perspective in terms of like the era that he grew up in. And like, it's funny, you'll hear references throughout the show of like, hey guys, like this is the old school way of doing things. And what's really funny is like, sometimes it actually still plays off. And so like, you're introducing a character who is struggling and needs help. But as the series goes along, he's actually starting to influence and kind of revert back to the older school way of like dating or like chivalry and like core beliefs that people are kind of moving away from.
Yeah. I hear women mention stuff like that all the time, whatever happened to courting, do you pull chairs out still? Do you hold the doors open? Do you open the car door for me?
Yeah.
And then I hear something that's like, so women complain, that's corny, so, people got to understand that, times have changed, but at the same time, there's still some women out there that want that extra,
And it's that level of adapting. Is that character Vinny, the mechanic in his 50s, is he adapting to that younger generation, or is it reverse? Is it the younger generation trying to adapt to the old school ways? So using that in that social media realm is quite fascinating. And so you'll see throughout the episodes, we just push ourselves, Carl and I, into writing how the character stories are going to play off. How is it going to end? You're going to see that development within the 3 episodes. And that's what was so challenging, because how are we going to do this? It sounds like a lot, 3 episodes, but it's actually not. So it's going to be fun to see.
There's a lot of interconnectedness with the characters, and that was really important too. Each character is providing a very different perspective. Like we talked about the character Mo, who comes into all this wealth, right? And he tries to take the approach of, I'm going to buy love. I'm going to be flashy. I'm going to do whatever I can because I have all means necessary to do it, right? Does it work for him? You'll have to find out. You then have the character Vinny, who is thrown into this world where it's like complete unknown, and he's genuinely a really good person. And, he needs a little bit of guidance because the way he's operated is kind of viewed as archaic now.
And divorced.
Yep. And then, the last main character, Rocco Rock, is, he's a really interesting character because he's this kind of young guy who, for whatever reason, he's having a really hard time meeting Mrs. Right. And, he kind of views social media as like a competitive advantage. And so like, you'll see him like leverage like information on Facebook about girls that he knew from high school that he happens to, I won't use the word stalk, but he follows them, and he notices one of them just broke up with her boyfriend and she just checked into a grocery store, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna conveniently be there and reunite with her. And I think that's really interesting because you can see how social media is very influential just in terms of how people approach things. And I think like his perspective is really important because throughout the series, you'll meet him and you'll say, wow, this guy, I don't know if I like this character. But over time, as he starts to embrace different perspectives, and obviously like trial and error, things work, things don't work, he starts to evolve. And they all do. Where when the show ends, they're going to look very different from where they started. Yeah. And like, that is a tremendous task at hand to accomplish in 3 episodes. But I feel like we've nailed it. I feel like we've delivered it. And the jury will be out on that end, whether people feel like, their characters have been developed in a way that, gives people hope. Because I think that's the most important thing, right? There is no right way. There is no wrong way. There are wrong things you can do that you probably won't get a second date. But I think ultimately, like, finding the right person in this world is very difficult. You could make an argument that social media makes it easier, but I actually think it makes it way harder because it's way more competition, it's way more interaction, visibility, keeping up with your identity, right? Like, does so-and-so have a really good job? Does so-and-so have, family and like core values or things that align with me? Right. And like, the other thing too is like, social media has become a vacuum, meaning you have to post or you have to show visibility or else people aren't going to believe you're real, especially in the dating world, or they're going to think, man, this person's mysterious. I don't want to talk to that person. So, I'm very happy I'm out of the dating world, but I do think that, this story, it's one of those things that it's kind of like a satire in a way where people are going to say, you know what, like maybe we're taking this a little too serious and we should just kind of like relax and go with the flow a little bit.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. And one of the things that I hate is that the industry has changed the words for, upcoming film and series. They call it a trailer. A trailer is something that people live in. I don't like the word trailer. I loved it when they called it coming attraction because it made you so excited to see what was going to come. You heard the coming attractions of the movies when you was in theater and you saw hyped up before the main event even started. So I am so looking forward to the coming attractions for this series. I saw the clips that you had posted up on social media, and I was so excited about it, and it was very interesting. But you guys just made it 100 times more interesting by giving us this interview. Are there any other current or future projects that you're working on at this time, or you plan on working on?
Yes. To answer it quickly, yes. I have plenty. I can't speak for my brother. At least I think I know he has a book. We both have a book of ideas. And actually, back at my place, I have printed out scripts of a bunch of horror. Because as my brother said earlier, he loves horror. I do too. I'm more along the action adventure, Michael Bay, blow crap up type of stuff, but we don't have the funding yet to blow things up in Social House, but hopefully with the media blows up. But I have a lot of ideas that I would love to get out there, and there's one idea that I'm trying to pitch to my brother. He says he wants to take a small little break, but I'm trying to take him away from that. For moving into next year, 2026, and I really want to get this one project going, and I think it's going to be fun, family oriented, and just broaden the audience, get more people out there, especially a younger age. So maybe moving towards more family fun type videos and movies.
Yeah, and I think Dan was spot on, right? Like, I think throughout the ordinary course of the day, ideas will just pop up. Well, oh man, that would really make a good movie. And I told Dan, I said, anytime an idea like that comes up, even if it's just like a basic little seed, just write it down, have a journal. And it's funny, Dan said like, I want to take a break. And, I think we've worked so hard on Social House for the last 2 years that I do want to sit down when it's all said and done and just kind of like absorb like reactions and kind of like let it marinate a little bit and like always do some sort of like lessons learned from that approach. But it's really funny, like when you get the itch, you get the itch. And I do have some ideas that I'm working on. I think I have a proof of concept that we filmed together during the pandemic. And I never got around to putting it together, and I'd like to complete that. And I'll share with you that I am working on a script right now for a remake of I won't say the name, but it's an 80s film. It's a horror. and I'm looking to put that script together and try to get that ball moving as well. So that would be a feature film, a feature release. So a lot of really good stuff. It's just time is finite.
Well, the one thing about your ideas that you have now with Social House is that you can always do a spinoff. You mentioned blowing stuff up, and you mentioned horror. You can always have a scorned girlfriend who decides she want to blow everything up, or she want to be the killer.
Hey, you want to know something funny? This show, I already know it's relatable because the main cast, when they go out with their girlfriends or friends, they'll text us, we have a group chat, and they'll be like, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what happened tonight. This has to be an episode of Social House.
Yeah.
And so like, it's funny because, like anything can inspire you. And I think like, because we live in a world where like, it's so fast moving and like, we wanna make sure these shows can really hit home with people. Like it should be based off of real world experiences. I think the shows that kind of flop a little bit are the ones where people are like, no way would that ever happen in real world. This is so like whatever. And I think like hitting that stride is so important. And so like I appreciate everyone out there that sends us texts and says, hey, you should consider this, you consider that, because some of them are really genuinely funny.
That's true. That's true. My last words is I definitely want to congratulate you guys on doing an amazing job. I know you worked hard. It takes a lot, a lot of work into film. People don't understand the work you have to put in behind the scenes. Trying to make time and doing the cuts, over and over and over and over to make sure it's perfect. The amount of time that you have to put in. I got to give a big shout out to 3 of my buddies, Sean Baker, Tyson Hall. They're both actors. They work hard to get into the entertainment business, and they finally made it. One of the promoters and film producers that's working his way up now, Carl Henderson. I watched all 3 of them, put in a lot of time to try to get in the door. And I understand what you guys had to do and the work that you put in to make this happen. And I definitely take my hats off to you guys and congratulate you guys. I got a cup of rum in my hand right now.
Thank you.
I'm cheering for you guys. Cheers to you. I know this is going to be very successful. I wish the best. I'm looking forward to seeing this show and seeing many more after this.
Well, we definitely appreciate you having us on your show. This has been tremendous. For anyone listening, if you're interested in our show, Social House, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, all the big social media platforms at Social House Show. And hey, look, when you finally watch it, please leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know which character you like. And most importantly, let us know if you want to see more.
And what days are you airing?
Yep, so the first episode is going to be aired on Friday, November 28th. And then,
Black Friday.
That's right, Black Friday. So after you're done marinating all that turkey and Thanksgiving food, please tune in that Friday. And then the following episode will be released on December 5th. And then the following Friday will be the finale, December 12th, exclusively on YouTube.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on my show and, taking the time out for G's Playground. And I look forward to having you on again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.